Welcome back to Cord Cutting today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today, massive changes coming to Comcast. Not only are they making big changes to their cable networks, new leadership is going to be taking over there. We'll tell you what's happening and how that's going to impact cord cutters and cable subscribers. Also, Friendly is adding a new channel, very popular new over-the-air TV channel is coming to Friendly, along with something that may not sound cord cutting, but it has a big impact on the future of TV. Electronic Arts, also known as EA, a popular video game manufacturer, is going private in a $55 billion deal. Talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we're going to break down what this means for the future of TV also. These stories and a whole lot more coming up, including NPR in a legal battle over a lot of money. These stories and more coming up. If you want to read more about everything I'm about to talk about, check out the show notes, and in the first pinned comment, I'll put a link to every story I talk about there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. If you're new here, please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Helps us grow, and hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. All right, let's get into it. Comcast is going to have some big changes over the next few months, starting off with by the end of the year, pretty much all of its cable networks will be spun off into an independent company, including USA Network, USA Network, MSNBC, CNBC, and more. This comes as Warner Brothers Discovery is also early next year spinning up its cable networks, including TNT, TBS, True TV, and the like. Now, Comcast also announced it's going to be bringing in a new CEO, Mike Cavanaugh, effective January 1st, 2026, become a co-CEO to help lead the company. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And there's definitely new energy, new leadership been rolling slowly into Comcast. And I think this is part of a bigger plan to dramatically overhaul the company. I've said this many times, but Comcast is in a lot of trouble. When you really look at it in a long-term picture, it's losing not only TV, but it's also losing internet customers. Its majority of business is still television and internet. Its cable networks are being spun off, and its studios are facing increased pressure as Peacock still struggles to find a way for long-term profitability behind it. Mark my words, Comcast, once seen as an indomitable forever machine that would dominate entertainment, is now showing a lot of cracks in its foundation. Keep a close eye on Comcast. While they're making changes now, they're downplaying, and trust me, I've heard it from the staff, they're downplaying the significance of what's happening here. I think they are very scared for the future of their business, as new competition in home internet takes what they long saw as a safe, secure money machine, puts it in doubt into the future. We'll see how this all plays out, but new leadership coming to Comcast, and they're about to get rid of all their cable networks as major changes come to Comcast. All right, next up, Friendly TV is adding a new channel from the parent companies of MeTV and MeTV Tunes. Now, we talked about this, but we'll talk about it more in a little bit, but West, a new over-the-air TV network with classic Western movies and television shows, launched yesterday and also quietly went live on Friendly. Now, Friendly is now owned by Roku. They bought it this year. And it's a live TV streaming service that gives you a ton of channels, including MeTV, MeTV Tunes, the Hallmark Channel, Great American Family, and more for under $10 a month at their base plans. Now, with this, West launches on that, give you access to classic movies and television shows. Great to see that added. Next up, Electronic Arts, and yes, I know it's primarily a video game company. They do movie partnerships, though, but that's not why I'm talking about this. We'll get to that in a quick second. Electronic Arts, or EA, has announced a deal to be acquired for $55 billion, taking the company private. From being publicly traded to being privately owned, allows the company a lot more freedom to make content they think will be good, even if the stockholders may not like it. Now, we'll have to keep a very hard eye on this. It's going to take a while for this to fully happen, but I have been told by multiple sources I know and trust that many media companies, big and small, would love to do this kind of deal. Now, for EA, they're doing it a lot with Saudi Arabian money and other big investors buying into the company and taking ownership of it. Now, major media companies are struggling with some of the similar pressure that EA is saying. Market forces are putting pressure on their traditional business models, making it hard for them to show the numbers that a lot of Wall Street executives want to see, negatively impacting their stock price. Going private would solve a lot of that, but be very complicated. It will be interesting. I tell you, companies will be watching this deal closely in the movie and television space. Not all these companies are going to go private, but it would not surprise me to see several small, mid-size, and even maybe a large media company dabble with the idea of selling themselves in order to go private to avoid the continued stress of trying to meet Wall Street expectations. We'll watch it closely. All right, we talked about a minute. I probably should put these stories, I talked about this a minute ago and should have put these stories right next to each other, but MeTV's West, the new over-the-air TV network that shows Western movies and television shows, is now live free over the air also in 55.7% of the market on 46 TV stations across the United States, including major cities like New York, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Atlanta, Tampa, and more. The network's now live. Now, if you want to see if it's available where you live, check out the show notes down below and in the first pinned comment. You can find my story there with a link to their website to go and enter your zip code, see what's available around you. So check that out. MeTV's parent company, West, is the new West network, is expanding free over-the-air television with that. We'll keep a close eye on it. All right, speaking of streaming, there's a big deal happening. Amazon's big Prime Day deals sale is happening next week, but its Prime Day video channel deals are now live. Now, these allow you to subscribe to many different streaming services for a fraction of the cost through Amazon's Prime Video app. Things like BET Plus you can get for just $2 a month for the first 3 months, normally $6 a month with that. Others like Curiosity Stream is also on sale for $2 a month on here. A bunch of these are all $2 a month for a limited time, 2 to 3 months, and include things like Marquee TV, Outdoor TV, A&E Crime Central, Curiosity Stream, and more. If you want to find the full list of all of them, Jess did a great job on the story. These are a great way to try out new streaming services really cheap. Check it out, link in the show notes if you want to get that. All right, are you ready for even more DraftKings commercials? Well, NBC Universal has teamed up with DraftKings to make them the official partner of them. You're going to see a lot more on their streaming and broadcast TV, especially related around sporting events. This is not necessarily a new idea. Of course, ESPN has their own system that they run, that they flood you on ESPN during ESPN sporting events and more. But now NBC is partnering up with DraftKings on that. All right, today in TV history, there's a few big ones here with this, including 40 years ago this week, MacGyver, the original show airing. One of my all-time favorite shows through the 80s and 90s out there. First aired on September 29th, 1985. Love that show. Really like it. Any MacGyver fans? How was the reboot? Leave me a comment, let me know. But also, now this one, hang in here with me for a second, but 30 years ago, the first PlayStation was released. Why does that have to do with cord cutting? Well, the PlayStation actually had a massive impact on television. Maybe not with the first model, but the second model, the PlayStation 2, was one of the first devices many people owned that had a built-in DVD player. And at the time, it was actually cheaper than many standalone DVD players when it first hit market. It was my first DVD player. I know quite a few people it was. It helped make DVDs the successful media it was. Remember, it was a DVD and HD DVD out there with some other competitors. It won. And then later, Sony also helped propel Blu-rays to success as they fought with HD DVDs, which Microsoft was backing. Well, Sony won with that. But not only that, but PlayStation 3 was also, for many people, their first streaming player. In a day and age when many people did not have smart TVs and did not own streaming players, PlayStation 3 was one of the first streaming players on the market to really, or for many people, as they bought for a game system and found out, oh, it also has things like Netflix or Hulu on it. So PlayStation, 30 years ago, not only did it refine video games, it also redefined throughout its history how we watch television, first by promoting DVDs, then making Blu-rays the pick over HD DVDs, and helping streaming become a reality by embracing apps on it like Hulu, and Netflix with its PlayStation 3. Let me know. For me, the PlayStation 2 was my first DVD player. Was it yours? Let me know. NPR is suing to block in federal court a $57.9 million grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So what's happening here? So in short, federal government's cutting funding, but what they would do is they would give money to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, who would split it out into different grants and projects for PBS and NPR. They manage the money from the federal government. Well, they have a $57.9 billion satellite grant they want to give, or $57.9 million grant they want to give to help get a new satellite to bring information to local NPR stations via satellite. Of course, the local NPR stations would rather get that money in cash to help them keep running. There's been a lot of push to move away from satellite broadcasts on this and move to internet delivery of a lot of the feeds of NPR programming. For now, though, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has been moving forward to continue to deliver this new satellite that NPR itself no longer wants. They would rather have the money, and now they're moving to court to try to block that money from going to the satellite so that they can get it on their own stations. We'll see how this plays out, but there's going to be a lot of fighting at PBS and NPR over the remainder of money that's sitting up there at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I suspect this is just one of many legal challenges to how that money is going to be used as it dries up now that federal funding has ended. All right, some other interesting stories out there. OpenAI, ChatGPT's parent company, is launching a new social app for AI-generated videos. They want to be a new hub for all things AI-generated videos. Keep an eye on this. AI-generated videos, as you probably have seen, are everywhere. They keep getting better and better. And while now it's sometimes laughably bad, never forget that these videos and AI in general is as bad as it will ever get. It's only going to continue to get better and better. And mark my words, there's going to come a day where it's hard to distinguish between what's real and what's not with AI. Also, a couple of other interesting stories. The FCC apparently has accidentally leaked the schematics and potential secrets of the iPhone. Now, the FCC has for a long time, very long time, required cell phones and other companies like Roku players and more to file permits that are publicly available because of the Freedom of Information Act laws to get approval to use things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and other frequencies there. They have to submit all kinds of technical information. Now, they can request certain things to be kept private, and many companies do, but the FCC has a long history, not just under this current administration, but throughout history, of accidentally forgetting to mark everything private. And that's how sometimes we find out things like there's a new Roku coming or a new Fire TV or whatever. But this time it was a pretty bad leak on that, and apparently there's concerns that their competitors now will have many of the secrets that Apple used to build their phones in the design that they may now be able to use to incorporate their end uses here. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but it's been a great goldmine for news reporters to find out about like new TVs, new streaming players. We'll see how that plays out with it. All right, and lastly, Reddit mods are trying to protect their privacy. Now, this is part of a particular lawsuit, but it's a bigger thing about online privacy in general. The YouTuber Ethan Klein, and we're not going to get into the battle that he's having over his copyright material, but we're going to focus on one particular part of the story. In short, he's arguing that some Reddit mods deliberately encourage people to pirate his content to avoid paying him money by watching ads on his videos. And he's suing some Reddit mods over that, or has them in part of a bigger lawsuit targeting several Twitch streamers and other people out there. Well, they're fighting back to try to remain anonymous on this. And I find this interesting because it's part of a growing trend we're seeing that reminds everybody that you're not anonymous online. That increasingly it's becoming very easy to, through digging through your records, find that. I'm going to be very interested to see how this plays out, though, because if he's successful here and these Reddit mods have to be unmasked for the lawsuit, it's very possible that this could set a great precedent for others looking to dig into who people are. Now, there are some caveats here. These mods are accused of breaking copyright law, and that's why. It's not just because he didn't like them And he's saying, well, I want to know who those people are who are saying bad things about me. No, it has more to do with them being argued that they're breaking copyright law. But increasingly, it is becoming common that what was long seen as the Wild West of anonymous people online is not that way anymore. Keep that in mind. It is increasingly easier and easier for people to find out who's behind that username online. If you want to read more about that story and all the stories, I'll put a link to them in the show notes and in the first pinned comment. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Until next time, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.